kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get down.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 122 of the Rotten Views podcast, but you guys already know that because you clicked on the episode. So I want to say thank you for, clicking on this and wanting to listen to it. If it's your 100th episode listening, if it's your second episode, if it's your first episode, I appreciate you guys taking the time to check out my podcast where I attempt to talk about movies and probably do a pretty bad job at it, but at least I'm having fun, and it seems like you guys are enjoying it too, because I keep seeing the numbers go up in the daily and weekly listeners, so I appreciate that very much. And if you guys have a little bit of extra free time after this episode, or if you want to pause this episode right now and go check it out, I very much appreciate it if you guys checked out my YouTube channel, which we're going to be putting a lot more work into this year, and I'm going to make it a sturdy flow of content. We got the shorts going like crazy. I've been doing 1 or 2 shorts every couple of days. There's no set plan for the shorts. I just upload my artwork whenever I can. We have the podcast dropping each week on the YouTube full platform. So we got the full episode with just my logo, and then usually a shot of the VHS cover or just the poster artwork for the movie that we're talking about in that episode. But we also do have gaming videos coming soon, and we also do have live recordings of the artwork being done as well, because with the shorts I've just been, for the most part, just uploading like the sketches or the inks or the finished colors and just like zooming in on them whilst some music that relate to the property are playing in the background. But what we will be doing, because I have a couple recorded, like I said, it's going to be edited down time-lapse videos of me drawing while I'm working on these pieces, because I think people may enjoy those. But we're also going to have a lot of nostalgic video game videos up. There's a bunch of playthroughs I want to do. I've been rebuying my PS2 collection and PS1 collection, so we probably will play some of those games. There's going to be a variety of different games. I'm not going to stick to one genre or anything like that. I'm just going to play games that I enjoy and that bring me back to that childhood memories that I used to love. And I'm going to be playing Super Nintendo games, Sega games, and stuff like that as well. Maybe some Game Boy Colors and whatnot. Not too sure. Don't really have that all planned out yet, but I do have some gameplay videos set up. We'll obviously play the odd, Xbox One, PS4 games as well. But for the most part, it's going to be nostalgic games and whatnot, because that's kind of like what my podcast is. I know I talk about movies all over the place, but I do want to branch out more. I've been talking a lot of older movies, but I will do the occasional newer movie here and there when I feel the urge to do so. But for the most part, it's going to be older movies, and they're not just all going to be horror movies. We're going to do some action, some comedies. I want to get some animated movies in there as well. And like I keep saying each and every week, which I'll eventually do it one of these weeks, I want to do some mini episodes as well to just kind of filter in the week every now and then. Just, an extra 20-30 minute episode for you guys to listen to, just for the sake of listening to it. And hopefully by the end of this year, I know it might be a big task, but hopefully on the YouTube channel side, I'm going to hopefully get 1,000 subscribers on there. I've jumped up pretty far in the last 6 months. I've already got up to 338 from being at like 100, because I've had my YouTube channel for a while, but I'm just posting on it now again on the regular basis. But anyways, enough of all that kind of stuff. Again, I will say thank you for everyone who's been checking out everything. I appreciate it all very much, but I know you guys are all here for one thing. You guys are here to listen to me talk about the movie at hand, which is the first time that I've ever watched it, I believe. I don't ever remember watching this. It's from 1993. It's a sci-fi mystery movie for 1 hour and 49 minutes. Fire in the Sky. This is going to be the first in the month of UFO and alien movies. It was a pretty decent one to start on, and apparently it's based on a true story. The Walton Experience, I believe is the book title, by Travis Walton. But yeah, the quick rundown on IMDb. An Arizona logger mysteriously disappears for 5 days in an alleged alien encounter with a flying saucer in 1975. His co-workers endure ridicule and contempt as they are wrongly accused of murder. It's directed by Robert Lieberman, which I thought was kind of funny because the only other thing that he's really done director-wise, I think, that caught my eye was Mighty Ducks 3, which I thought was really funny. You know, he's done the odd episodes of Dexter and X-Files and whatnot, but that's the main thing that caught my eye, was that he was director for Mighty Ducks 3. And then it's also starring Robert Patrick. Of course, if you guys don't know, he's T-1000 from Terminator 2. He's also Coach Joe from The Faculty, which are two decent movies. Well, Terminator 2 was awesome. Faculty's a cult favorite of mine. I enjoy that movie a lot. And then, of course, he's in episodes of Mayans and Sons of Anarchy. I think he's in like 4 or 5 episodes together in total with those two things. And it's also starring D.B. Sweeney. I think that's the proper way of saying his last name. He was also in one of the previous movies that I talked about on the podcast. He was in the Charlie Sheen No Man's Land movie, which I also just looked up. He's apparently he's the narrator in Mountain Men, which is a TV show that my parents used to watch a lot. And he's in 10 episodes of 2.5 Men. But yeah, this movie was released on March 12th, 1993. And it's a story of Travis Walton from, like I said, the Walton Experience. It had a box office of $19.9 million. And it's got a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, 42% on Metacritic, and 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. And apparently 91% of Google users like this film, which we'll get right into the movie at hand.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures.
How does it think? What makes it move? Why does it breathe? Questions anyone would ask about a man if they'd never seen one before. So for 5 days, a man was borrowed. The story that Travis Walton and 5 other witnesses told was so unbelievable, so unimaginable, that it has become the most famous case of UFO abduction ever reported.
It's a Paramount picture, which, you know, I like Paramount movies. Not gonna lie, I don't talk about them too much, but I do enjoy them. Intro credits playing, and it's a dark evening as we see that it's very cloudy and foggy, and the night's moon sky is kind of like shining through a little bit, and then music slowly starts to pick up. We see this bright light coming through the trees and through the fogs, and then the light gets brighter and brighter, and we think it's gonna be a UFO, but it's actually, we see a truck speeding through the wooded area, and it's driving crazy and crashes into like a few items, crashes into like the back of it, crashes into a tree as it's trying to make a sharp turn, and then it cuts off the dirt road in front of a transport. We see the truck pulling up to a diner, and the radiator is all fucked up because it's just steaming smoke the whole time. And we have 2 guys sitting on the porch outside the diner wondering what the hurry was all about, and then the guys all leave the truck. I think there's 5 of them. They leave the truck and just head into the diner and don't even say a word. They're almost like zombies, like they've seen something crazy just happen. Then inside, the waitress tells the guys the diner is closed, or at least the kitchen aspect is, and then one of the guys speaks up saying no matter how hard it gets, everyone needs to stick to their stories about what happened. And that's Mike Rogers, that's Robert Patrick's character. Then we see what we can assume is our lead, who is, like I said, Mike. He's going over to the payphone in the diner. Then we got to this another scene where we see Frank Waters, who we believe is a cop because there's CB radio going on in his car. I think it's Frank Waters, it could be wrong, but anyways, or it might just be another officer on duty, but he's taking one of the calls over the CB radio, and then we see these 4 red lights come up on the reflection of his window. He's looking up all kind of shocked, but it's just the lights from the train crossing because the train's going by. Then we cut to see everyone at the diner around the truck, and the cops are trying to clear the station or the situation out. Then we see the guy showing up who was on the other call, and it's Lieutenant Waters, because apparently he's here to get the lead on this case, because apparently the sheriff's team wasn't enough and they just called in a lieutenant from a different agency altogether to deal with the situation. The sheriff fills in Waters about the group and how they were up on a plot doing a job because they're loggers and they're trying to clear out this plot of land, and then an incident happened. But the sheriff's like, you're not going to believe what they're saying. I'm not going to relay it to you because you should hear it from the horse's ass itself, because you aren't going to believe it. Then Waters and the sheriff go into the diner and they pull up a tape recorder, and one of the workers gets all paranoid about it. I think it might have been Dallas who got all paranoid about it because he's kind of like the badass of the group. Then we have Mike, the lead, who's was on the payphone earlier telling Waters about Travis, his best friend, who went missing up in the logging area because he's the one that got abducted by the aliens, or attacked by the alien. But we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. We then see a flashback of Mike being woken up by his 2 girls. There might be twins, I'm not really too sure. And then we see a shot of Travis on his motorcycle riding through town, cutting off drivers, being a complete asshole, even to the point where he's driving down the sidewalk. He drives past a store, and some girl named Kathy gives him a lunch to go on the road, or it's donuts, I believe, actually, and I think his lunch is probably in there as well. Then we see Mike getting ready to leave to go to work, and his wife is worried because the bank is going to keep calling, and they're threatening to throw them out of the house. And then we see Travis showing up as Mike is working on the engine of his truck. Mike is ignoring Travis because he doesn't want to deal with the shit right now because he's pissed off because of issues with his wife and with the bank and whatnot. And then we find out Travis is saying, hey, you want to cheer yourself up? I got some donuts in the bag. That'll make you happy, right? Then Travis looks at Mike's broken down bike and suggests that they start working on it tonight to repair it. And Travis shows Mike a paper for MT Motors, a bike company that he wants to start up. And then Travis climbs up the roof and makes faces at the kids as they're eating dinner or breakfast at the table. And then he goes up onto another roof, which apparently Mike's sister lives with them, and Travis is kind of like hooking up with her. And he wakes her up and then gives her a bag of donuts, because why not give her a bag of donuts that you just got from another random girl off a sidewalk from a different store? But it's fine, it's no big deal. Then he asks her to marry him, and Mike says, can we go before I get sick? I'm tired of listening to this bullshit, because he's not all about the lovey-dovey situation. Then we cut and see 3 people on the side of the road throwing rocks at mailboxes, and then they get picked up by Mike and Travis in the truck, and we find out that's the other workers on the job site. I think one's like David, Bobby, and Dallas is the other one, I believe. Dallas is the asshole. Dallas and Travis don't like each other, but we'll figure that out a little bit more. But as we are all in the truck, it doesn't really look like the crew of people like each other, because it might have been David, he wants the music in the truck turned down because it's annoying, and then Dallas and Travis, like I said, don't really like each other. And then we see them driving across a bridge and deeper into the forest area, and we see that they are a small logging company. It's just literally a truck and a bunch of chainsaws in the back, and that seems to be all they have. We then see them dropping trees and making piles and doing small logging work, and Dallas almost drops a tree on Travis, and he's not very happy about it. It lands super close to him. He's like, that's dangerous, man. And then it looks like they're about to have like a chainsaw fight, and then Mike calls it off because he's like, it's lunchtime, guys, stop being assholes. Then Travis goes over to Mike as he's sharpening a saw, saying they should go do a camping and fishing trip once this job's done. And then we have Mike dropping some hard truth on Travis. He's like, you know what, man, aside from this camping trip that you want to go on, I know you're not ready to marry my little sister because you're not mature enough, essentially, is what he's going at. And then we cut back to the group of guys talking to Waters as he's trying to figure out where Travis is, because he's been missing for a couple hours now, and he goes missing for a total of 5 days after the movie runs along. Then Waters tries to talk to Dallas, the guy who had issues with Travis, and we find out Dallas has an injury on his hand. Then the sheriff tells the group to tell Waters what they saw. Then it cuts back to the group heading home in the dark of night, and then Dallas sees something strange and far off into the woods, and it's this dark red light that's coming up through the trees. And I think at one point they think it's a forest fire, and then they get closer and closer to it, and then the radio starts to act up, and they don't think it's a forest fire anymore because now the radio's all acting up. And I think the guys in the back of the truck are like, hey, stop messing around with the radio, you're starting to scare us. And it's like, no, we're not doing anything to the radio, to be honest with you, up here. Then Travis says he wants to go see what it is because he's curious and he's a dumb little fuck. They get closer to the red light, and Travis yells for them to stop, and Mike does stop the truck for some goddamn reason, I don't know why. But then Travis, all curious and shit, jumps out and starts walking towards the red light. light, it starts to fade away, and now there's like a shiny white light coming down at him, and then the white light starts to shine a little bit brighter on him, and then it turns to red again, and then we see the UFO hovering above him, and it sounds like a thunderstorm starting to come in now, and then Travis is looking around all worried. He's like, oh shit, what am I doing out here? I should still be in the truck. Travis goes to head back to the truck, but the white light stops him, and then literally picks him up and throws him into the air, and everyone in the truck starts freaking out, saying he's dead, and Mike doesn't want to leave, but everyone's yelling for him to leave, so then they start speeding away. Then as we see them speeding through the back roads trying to get away from the UFO, then they randomly stop again in the middle of the road, and Mike is having second thoughts about leaving his best friend back there in the random part of the woods laying on the ground. So he pretty much tells them he's going back, and everyone's like, no, we gotta go to town, and then once we get help, then we can go back. And Mike's like, no, if you guys don't want to come with me, get the fuck out of the truck, essentially, and I'm going back to try and get my best friend. They all get out, of course, and Mike heads back to find Travis on his own now. Then we cut back to Mike talking to Waters, saying how he searched the woods and found nothing, and says that they took him, and Waters is like, you want me to believe that a flying saucer took your friend away into space? Then the crew is wondering why Waters isn't believing them at all, and Waters says, you saw something, but it probably wasn't what you think you saw. Then the sheriff, I'm not sure why, but it seems like it's a small town anyways. But anyways, he decides to grab everyone's phone numbers and address so that they can get a hold of them when the time comes. Then we see the sheriff and Waters outside looking over the truck and says he doubts they will find Travis in one piece, and wonders how the boys came up with the story. Because what Waters is thinking, because they're a bunch of loggers, he's essentially thinking that they took the chainsaws and cut Travis up into pieces and are hiding him somewhere up in the mountains. Because Waters is your class A skeptic. He doesn't believe anything that he doesn't see or have proof that's in front of him, so he doesn't believe in UFOs or aliens at all. Then we cut to Mike showing back up at his home. He gets out of the truck and looks at Travis's bike a bit before heading back inside. And once he makes it inside, he sees his wife and his baby sister already on the couch, and they already know everything that's happened because they heard it on the radio already. And then the sister's wondering how Mike just left him out there. He's like, I went back eventually. You know, it wasn't that long. I was scared. Everyone was yelling at me. I didn't know what to do. I freaked out and panicked, and then I felt bad, so I went back. And then the sister breaks down, wanting to know where her boyfriend has gone, and Mike has no answers to give her because he really doesn't know what's going on either. He's just as lost and confused in the whole situation as she is. Then the next day we see a search helicopter out in the woods, and there's a bunch of search teams with dogs and everything getting ready to hunt down Travis' body, assuming they're going to find him and whatnot. Then we see the guys trying to find the SWAT Waters, and then Dan, Travis's brother, comes over pissed off, wanting to know what they did with his brother, and they're like, we didn't do anything, it was a UFO, just leave us alone, we're just as confused as everyone else is in this whole situation. And then we find out, I think Dallas, or not Dallas, well, it does have to go with Dallas, but Dan, Travis's brother, did some research on Dallas because Dallas is the only one missing from the search party, and apparently Dallas has a criminal record for assault with a deadly weapon, and Dan knows that Travis and Dallas didn't really get along together, so he thinks that they're hiding Travis's body to protect Dallas. And then we see Bobby, one of the other workers in the trees, and we see this like native guy watching them from the tree line, and that's when we hear some yelling that they found something, so everyone goes rushing over there. Then we see some guys digging, and they start pulling a skeleton out of the ground, but it's just a dog skeleton. The sheriff's like, it's probably just some hunter, dog died, just hide in it, no big deal. Then that night, Mike's wife says they got called today and that his crew got taken off the job, and she's wondering what they're going to do about the paycheck. And Mike gets a little annoyed and loses his shit a little bit. He's like, I just lost my best friend, and all you're caring about is money right now. I think there's bigger problems than money. I need to find where my best friend is. Then his wife starts to question him and about what happened in the woods, and Mike says to her that he told her everything already and that he knows nothing, and she clearly doesn't believe him, and that really upsets him. Then we see Mike checking into a motel in the middle of the night, and then Tom, the owner of the motel, says, as of tomorrow, all my rooms are going to be booked up, because apparently there's a bunch of news reporters and UFO buffs that have booked up all the rooms in the motel, and they're going to be staying up there until the situation's solved. Then Mike is getting ready to leave the motel, and a reporter pretty much corners him and starts, asking him questions and whatnot as he's getting his truck, and he's just driving away because he has no time and he doesn't want to deal with these reporters anyways because they're just a bunch of bullshit, which is understandable, of course. Then we see the guys in town, and then I think this guy Isaac comes over and says, there's people in town that are wanting to know the truth, and he gives them a business card called like a FIRE, and it's like an alien research group. This will come up later on in the movie as well. Mike catches up in the diner to talk to the rest of the crew, and they tell Mike that Waters wants them to confess to get a better deal on the situation because Waters feels like, they did something wrong and they're going to be, trialed for the murder of the best friend, even though the best friend's body hasn't even been goddamn found. Then the sheriff and Waters come in saying, it's nothing personal, but where's your friend with the attitude problem? And then the sheriff says he wants to make them all take a lie detector test to figure out if they're telling the truth or not. Mike gets annoyed at being accused, and then Waters asks for Mike. He wants him to step outside so he can talk some more one-on-one situation. And he mentions that he knows about Dallas's cut on his hand and what happened to it. Then Mike and the other guys leave. I think it's Mike and Bobby, or no, David. They decide to go find Dallas because apparently Mike knows the whole time where Dallas is. He's been hiding at like his family's trailer out in the middle of nowhere. Then Dallas says, well, what's up? What's going on in your stupid little town down there? The other guy speaks up saying that the sheriff want them all to take a lie detector test and that they know he's being a chicken hiding in the desert, and that kind of pisses Dallas off because he's like, I don't want to do this bullshit. They're just going to accuse me because I'm the one with the charges, the criminal charges from my past, so they're just going to blame me anyways. Then Dallas starts complaining that they need to put like a body on trial. They need to pin the murder trial on someone, and that's why he's going to be pretty much the scapegoat in the whole situation because he's the bad guy in the crew, and they're not going to blame like Mike, the family man, or David, the smart guy and whatnot. Mike tells them they're all taking the lie detector test and that they need to get together tomorrow morning because he's tired of this shit and he's tired of being accused of stuff that he didn't do, and they're just going to do it and get it done and over with. Then we see a bunch of people around town all watching the news report regarding the UFO or murder disappearance of Travis because it's going both ways essentially. And then we see everyone at church for a town meeting to talk to the sheriff about the situation that's going on. The town people think they know what has happened, and then Mike speaks up because it seems like no one knew he was in the back of this church the whole time as the town meeting's going on, and Mike's going on about how disappointed he is with everyone because he starts listing out some people. He's like, we've all been friends. I wouldn't kill my best friend, and the fact that you guys don't believe us and that we are actually up for murder is just kind of stupid because we've always been here for every single one of you guys, and now when we need you, you're pretty much turning your backs on us. Then at the end, Mike tells the sheriff that everyone in the crew is going to take the lie detector test and pretty much, to shut the town down and tell everyone to shut up because they didn't do anything wrong. We see the crew showing up for the test, and they're all being surrounded by a posse of news reporters. Some of the guys on the crew are feeling like the lie detector test is going to be set up to make them look bad. So they don't really feel confident in taking the test because they don't really trust the test because they don't know how it can be, tampered with to make it in the favor of the sheriff and whatnot. We see this guy talking to each crew member. He's the guy running the lie detector test. And then we see the crew sitting down waiting to hear about the test results because I could go on about all the questions he asked him, but it's not really that important. He does ask Dallas if he hated Travis. He's like, kind of, not really, kind of, because Dallas is kind of all over the place because he's pissed off at Travis, but at the same time he must like him a little bit because he's kind of worried that Travis is nowhere to be found. And then we see the crew sitting around waiting for their test results, and then Waters comes in and we find out one of the tests needs to be taken again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. And Mike gets pissed off. He's like, we're not coming back. We did this today for you to, shut you guys all up to prove that we haven't done anything wrong. And, he's like, we're just done. We're done being your guinea pigs and we're leaving. So they all leave. And then we find out the only test that was abnormal was Dallas because it was all over the place. And even the guy doing the lie detector test, he's like, it's probably because, he's got a lot of pent up emotions and anger, but he's also feeling very sad at the same point. But we also find out everyone else that did the lie detector test, they all pass with no problem. So essentially, they're telling the truth, and Waters still doesn't want to believe them because he's standing there as he hears the guy talking to the sheriff about the result. Then we cut and see Mike on the couch with his kids. They're falling asleep. One's on a chair and one's on his lap. His wife comes in saying, are you planning on spending the night? He's like, yeah, is that a problem? It is my house still. But, I've been staying in a motel just because you're a bitch, but whatever. And then the phone rings and no one says anything because the wife picks up, and then the phone rings again. So Mike answers it, and it says it's a collect call from Travis, and he accepts the call, and it's just Travis, pretty much crying for help. Then we cut to Mike and his baby sister Dana, and I think Travis's brother, and someone else in the truck heading to the phone booth in the middle of this heavy-ass thunderstorm in search for Travis. They pull up to this gas station, and Mike's sister sees something on the side of the building, and we see Travis naked, hunched over by the icebox, and he's terrified and shaking. The sister tries to touch him and console him and whatnot, and he literally just starts screaming like a fucking banshee, like a little kid who just had his toy stolen from him. Then we see Travis looking around freaked out in the washroom, and it's been 5 days since they lost him, or he went missing, I guess. And then we see it's the washroom at the gas station. Then we see Mike made a phone call, and it's actually Jarvis from the UFO Hunter showing up because they have some questions for Travis, and they want to be the first people to talk to him and figure things out. And they also want to take like a urine sample and some other shit. Kind of weird. Jarvis is trying to figure out from Travis how many aliens he saw and if he's made it into the mothership and all this other crap. And then we see Travis on a stretcher being taken through a hospital, having flashbacks to when he was in the spaceship. And then the doctor's looking at him, and all Travis can see at this point in time, because he's freaking out, is all he sees is aliens instead of the actual doctors. Then we see Travis in bed, and it's morning now. Or maybe it's not morning. No, it's not morning yet. It's actually still nighttime. It's still raining out really heavy. And Mike sneaks into the room. He's not supposed to be in the room yet because Travis isn't ready to see anyone, but Travis is just laying there staring at the ceiling, and Mike tries to talk to him, and for whatever reason Mike's like, you know what, me and my wife are having some issues. I don't think we're going to make it, because that's definitely the thing a guy wants to hear when he just got like probed by aliens and he's terrified for his own fucking life. He really wants to hear about your problems in life. And then Travis speaks up saying how Mike left him there, and then he just looks back up the ceiling, and then Mike gets all pissed off, and he's like, if you would have stayed in the fucking truck in the first place, none of this would have ever happened. Then we see Travis getting dressed the next day and leaving the hospital with Dana. He's surrounded by news reporters trying to ask him what happened. And he gets in the car, and Dana just drives him away. Then she stops at like a grocery store to grab some stuff, and Travis stays in the car. And the whole time he's sitting in the car, some kids come up knocking on the window, and they have a newspaper, and they want his autograph because he's famous because he's been out in space. And then Waters comes up to talk to him about the whole investigation, and Travis just like, I don't know where I've been. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I have no memory of what happened in the last 5 days. And Waters like, I think you're making that story up. Well, that's okay. We'll figure out the truth later, even though everyone else other than Dallas survived the fucking lie detector test. Then we see Travis making it home, and a large group of family members and friends are all there to greet him, and they're having this big family celebration to welcome him back home. We see everyone, getting ready to have a feast, and then somehow everyone loses sight of where Travis has gone, because no one can fucking find him now. Then Dana, his girlfriend, finds him hiding underneath a table when he's freaking out, and then like some syrup falls over and it splashes on his face, and that even freaks him out even more. And then he has a flashback to being in the spaceship where he's stuck in some kind of flesh coon pod thing. We see him waking up in the pod, ripping it open, and it's just like a sack of flesh. And then he's in this weird hive-looking system inside the spaceship, and then he grabs like this cord or hose and swings around and crashes into another pod where we see a dead person. At least they're probably dead unless there's some kind of life support on them, because they have no like lower torso at all. It's just like the upper torso and like the head and arms. And then we see Travis climbing through this like zero gravity area of the ship, trying to find his way out. Then he makes it into this opening where he's looking down at like this operating table. He sees his snowflake keys floating away, so he tries to grab them, but he loses grip with this ship, and then he goes down to the operating table area. We just see these lifeless aliens all standing around, and then he starts touching one of the suits because he's like, oh, it's a spacesuit. But one of the suits behind him actually raises his head and then comes over and touches him in the back. He gets all freaked out and does a drop kick in his face and kicks the helmet off, and then he's trying to escape through the tunnels in the ship, and then two aliens grab him by the ankles and start dragging him down this long ass hallway. And then we see the aliens throw him face down on the table, ripping off his clothes, and then next thing we know, they put him on his back, and they put this sheet over top of him, this white cloth that starts to like vacuum seal around him, and then they put over his face too, and it vacuum seals around that, and then they cut open one spot for the eye and the spot for the mouth because they want him to breathe a little bit at least. And then they start ramming the shit down his throat, and then they put this clamp on like his eye to keep his eye open, and then this like white milky stuff covers up his eye, and it's all weird looking. Anyways, then this weird machine comes out of the sky and hooks up to the device that's rammed down his throat, and he starts screaming. And then we cut back to him waking up in the doctor's office, and Waters and the sheriff are there as well because they're curious as to what's all going on because of this panic attack he had at home. And then we see Waters and the sheriff leaving, and Waters is telling the sheriff that he thinks it's all a hoax made up by the whole crew. I'm not sure why he still thinks it's a hoax, but he's just he's a person in denial for the most part, I should say. Then we cut to Travis playing with his son Michael before breakfast. Not sure what amount of time has gone by at this point in time, but Dana is also pregnant again and showing a lot. Then we see Travis leaving and driving to work he pulls off to the side road and he sees like this motorcycle billboard sign. And then he turns around. He's driving down this old dirt road and comes up to a small house in the woods. He gets out of the house and calls for Michael. And he comes out looking totally different now. He's got a cowboy hat on. He's got a beard. And he's got long hair. We find out it's been 2.5 years since they last saw each other because Michael didn't show up for the welcome home party because he was all pissed off at what Travis said to him that night in the hospital. Travis wants Mike to go for a car ride with him, and they go for a drive together up to the forest clearing where the accident happened. And Mike's like, why did you bring me here? What's the point of this? Then Travis says how he saw Mike's girls and how they gotten so big. Apparently Mike's been a hermit the whole time living in a small town because he hasn't even seen his daughters, to the fact that he doesn't even know he's an uncle, and he's going to be a second uncle because, you know, they have another kid on the way. And I don't even think he knows that Travis and Dana named their one kid, I'm pretty sure, Michael. Then Travis says how it's his fault, he should have never gotten out of the truck in the first place, and none of this whole situation would have happened. And if none of this happened, then maybe him and Mike and his wife would still be together and they would still have a job together and whatnot. Mike says he wants to leave the spot before the aliens come back, and Travis laughs. He's like, I don't think they're going to be back. I don't think they really like me too much. And then they drive off together down the dirt road. Then at the end of the movie, it tells you some facts that Mike and Katie got divorced in 1976, and that Mike had a few carpentry and house painting jobs before finally going back to cutting trees and logging in 1992 because he was too scared to be up in the woods logging and stuff because he's afraid that the aliens were going to come back. And then it also mentions that Travis and Dana have 4 kids and live in Snowflake, Arizona, which seems very weird that a place in Arizona would be called Snowflake, but we'll just go with it. I don't even know if it's a real place or not. I didn't do any research on that part. And then it says that the lie detector test proved that everyone was telling the truth, and then the outro credits roll. This was a fun movie. It's a pretty decent UFO movie. Like I said, first time I've ever seen it, at least that I can remember. Maybe I would have watched it as a kid back in the day with my parents, but I don't remember. There's a lot of stuff back then I don't remember, so this is probably one of those things that could have happened back then, but for me it was a fresh new watch, and I wish there was more to do with the aliens and inside the spaceship because that part was only maybe like 10-15 minutes of the movie, if that. But the whole story and how everything went together I thought was really good, and I like the cast. I thought it was a decent cast. No one's super, amazing by any means, but it's a fun movie nonetheless. And on the Rotten scale, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'll watch it again at some point in time, but not anytime soon, just because it's nothing that catches your attention too much. It's an interesting movie from start to finish, and I felt like it went by pretty fast, but like I said, I wish there was a little bit more of the alien aspect to it. Which brings us to our movie we're going to watch next week, the second movie in our month-long alien viewing. It's going to be a comedy movie. We're going to watch Conehead because I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid. I'm not going to lie, when I watched it as a kid, I didn't care for it at all. So I'm going to see if my opinion on this movie has changed at all, or if I still hate it, because that's going to be fun. If I hate it, it's going to be a long, long podcast, but, who knows? I could love it, or I could just think it's, straight trash. Who knows? But anyways, I want to say thank you all for making it this far, and I appreciate everyone for checking out the podcast. If you guys could check out the link down below, check out all my social medias at Typhonsign. You got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube being the main thing. So if you guys could, if you have time, check out my YouTube, check out my art videos. I very much appreciate it if you guys could hit that subscribe button on that as well. I appreciate that as well. I appreciate everything you guys have been doing for me lately. And it means a lot that I'm doing content and creating content that people enjoy. That's mainly the reason why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for the money or anything else like that. I'm just doing it to make content that people enjoy. Also, you can check out the outro music band as well, Blood Opera, trauma-based horror band. Their links will be down below as well. Go check them out. They got a bunch of music on YouTube and SoundCloud and Spotify as well. Very cool dudes. And if you guys are into horror music, they're right up your alleyway. And yeah, you can check out the links for the social media for the podcast, but I'm doing a lot of it through my own personal social media. I should really upgrade that a little bit, Should probably focus more on posting on the podcast social medias, but at the end of the day, it's very time consuming to keep track of everything, and yeah, that's my excuse. New year, same excuse.
You gotta love it, right? But until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
I am the whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? closet.